Good day, everyone. We are from Group 5, and today we would like to give our result in headline analysis of the COVID-19 news on antaranews.com in March edition. But before that, let me introduce our group members. There are Rosse, Hilda, Aliyyah, Vania, Dieva, and Bilqies. Okay, for the first headline, it is my turn to discuss it. My name is Hilda Charisma, and the three last number is 008. So, the source tag is 2097 pasien COVID-19 dirawat di Rumah Sakit Wisma Atlet Kemayoran, which translated into Emergency Hospital Wisma Atlet treats 2,097 COVID-19 patients. Both of these headlines are classified as the informative headlines because they tend to say sentence directly and it consists of concise and informative aspects. But it didn't contain the attractive aspect because the headlines are only stated the current information of the emergency hospital situation. For the headline grammar, both versions applied a specific syntax by using lexical words rather than function words. It can be seen in the source text in the use of the noun 2097 pasien COVID-19 and Rumah Sakit Wisma Atlet Kemayoran. For the target text, it used the noun Emergency Hospital Wisma Atlet and 2,097 COVID-19 patients. For the difference between these two versions, there is a difference in the sentence structure. The example is in the source text. It used 2097 pasien COVID-19 as the subject and Rumah Sakit Wisma Atlet Kemayoran as the object. Meanwhile, in the target text, it used Emergency Hospital Wisma Atlet as the subject and 2097 COVID-19 patients as the object. Moreover, there is also a deletion in the word Kemayoran, which appeared in the previous source text, but it didn't apply in the target text.
The second headline is Kemenkes gandeng Halodoc siapkan vaksinasi drive-thru untuk lansia, which translated into Health Ministry Halodoc jointly organized drive-thru vaccination. The characteristic of both of these headlines, the English and the Bahasa Indonesia version, are concise and informative at the same time. It is brief and quite easy to understand. The reader will know that the news is talking about the collaboration of the Health Ministry and Halodoc to create an innovative drive-thru vaccination program in Indonesia only by its headlines without reading the rest of the news. Although there is one slang word in the headline, which is drive-thru, THRU, that derived originally from a verb phrase drive-thru, THROUGNH, these headlines are not considered as a witty and attractive headline as there isn't any catchy or clickbait feature in it which makes the reader fully interested to read it directly. For the wording, both of these headlines are using a full content morphemes, mostly nouns and verbs, without having any function morphemes such as determinant or auxiliaries that slips within the text. Moving on to the translation, even though the translation doesn't really change much from the source text, actually there are several changes in the translated version of the news, which are: there is a change in the subject in terms of the form, from an acronym into the full version of Health Ministry instead of MHO, which stands for Ministry of Health. The second change is the addition of a punctuation comma, which separates the Health Ministry from the rest of the words. The next change is the rephrasing of the verbs gandeng and siapkan, which become a phrasal verb jointly organized. And in accordance with the verbs, a change of word class occurred in the translated news. Jointly is an adverb that means bersama-sama in Bahasa Indonesia, while gandeng is a verb. The last change, which also became the most obvious one, is the omission of the phrase untuk lansia in the end of the headline.
Hello, my name is Vania Desthalia and register number is 76. The next one I'm going to explain about third headline. We can see in the Indonesian version and the English version are categorized as informative headline, which explain the information about COVID-19. And then the both versions apply lexical words rather than function words. It can be seen in the use of the noun there. And the next is the headlines, categorized nominalization, which there are many of nouns that is created from adjectives or the verbs. For the example is the word restricts belongs to the verb change to the restrictions, which becomes a nouns. And the use of the nominalization there, it makes the tone of the news sounds more firmer, and it also becomes a concept rather than an action. Despite that, the simple language of the headlines give benefit to attract the readers for clicking the news. And the next one is the differences in comparison between the both of headlines. The first one is the English version. The English version is shorter than the original. It is shown by the deletion of the word menkes and done. So the headline there seems to explain the fact situation that already happened at the time, which means there is no a trace or reference in the headline, and it is also categorized as attractive and conscious. It's attractive because it used the sentence technique which described by word vaccination, restrictions, and inflection. The repetition of the shin sounds belongs to a sentence technique. And it also explains the main idea of COVID-19 information. So it belongs to the conscious one. And the Indonesian headline is categorized as conscious quotes, which said by Menkes, Menteri Kesehatan, the person who is the speakers of the statement, because Menkes is a professional person from the medical and the government team, so it means that the headline is implicitly addressed to the readers or society for getting vaccinations and restrictions mobility to cut COVID-19 infection. And the last one is the words. The counter seems like incomplete words, which can make the reader confused to read the information. The counter is might be described increase or decrease the potential of COVID-19. So that's all. Thank you.
Now I'm going to talk about the fourth headlines. The source text is in Indonesian, which is Satgas sebut 5.533.379 orang telah jalani vaksinasi COVID-19, and the target text is in English, which is 5,533,379 Indonesians have been vaccinated against COVID-19. The translated headline from ST to TT is informative and concise for the reason that both texts deliver its meaning without unnecessary addition, which is a very forward intention relating to its context. However, due to this, the headlines lose its attractive aspect but maintain to reinforce its informative and concise aspect. Furthermore, ST and TT maximize the use of lexical words more than function words. Now we are going to see the clear difference between the two. In ST, the headline is treated as a report from a responsible party because it is written Satgas sebut by mentioning the doer or the performer, so it sounds more credible. While in TT, TT loses the perspective of whom the statement was uttered. Presumably, the doer is erased, so the readers will get the information right away just by reading the headline.
Besides, TT actually went through a denominalization rather than nominalization. Notice that Johnny vaccinasi becomes vaccinated, which means a noun was converted to a verb. In conclusion, both headlines are considered as informative headlines.
My name is Aliyyah and my student number is 060. I'm going to discuss the fifth headline, that is Polres Jakarta Selatan vaksinasi 1.356 personel. In English, South Jakarta policies 1356 officers to receive first vaccine doses. The two versions of headlines in Indonesian and the target test in English are concise and informative. Both of them fit the story of the news and there's no unnecessary information. The visual is striking to get the attention of the reader, but there's no special headline techniques. It also tends to use lexical words. It also has some differences. In Indonesian headline, it is in the form of past tense, so it gives the impression of the news. However, in English headline, it is in the form of future tense, therefore it gives the impression of announcing the event. It also gives nominalization by giving further information about the news. It says first vaccine doses that it doesn't mention in the Indonesian headline. Next, the sixth headline, Kemensos berikan vaksin COVID-19 dosis kedua bagi 1.121 ASN. In English, 1121 Social Affairs Ministry staff get COVID shot. Both of them convey the information directly and in forward manner so they maximize the use of lexical words and omit function words. The headlines is informative, but it loses attraction. It has some differences. In Indonesian headline, Kementerian Sosial is abbreviated to Kemensos in order to make a short and simple headline. In English headline, the target text excludes a certain detailed information, that is, dosis kedua from Indonesian headline. The headline is metonym. In this case, COVID shot is a substitute for vaccine COVID-19 dosis kedua.
The next headline with the source text, Wapres, Pemerintah kembangkan riset vaksin COVID-19, which translated into government works with agencies for research to develop COVID-19 vaccine. Both of the headlines are consist of concise and informative aspects. Thus, both headlines are classified as informative headlines, but the target text is more informative because there is an additional phrase of works with agencies. The Indonesian version used the lexical words which can be seen in the use of the noun wapres, pemerintah, riset, and vaksin COVID-19. Meanwhile, the English version also used a function word in the conjunction of the word for. There is also the use of slang word in the English version gov, which is the abbreviation of the standard English word government. The difference between these two versions are in the omission and addition found in the target text. The example of omission is deletion of the word wapres from the source text, which didn't apply in the target text. And the additional phrase of works with agencies that wasn't mentioned previously in the source text. The addition has become the reason why the target text is more informative than the source text.
My name is Rosse Meilina D and my student number is 149. I'm going to explain the 8th headline with the title BPOM berikan izin penggunaan darurat obat Corona Avivavir. With the English title, BPOM approves COVID-19 drug Avivavir for emergency use. Both headlines considered informative and concise, which means that it covers the main idea of the news and offers the readers an overview of the news. Both Indonesian and English headline deliver the same information and meaning, and there are no unnecessary words added. There are also differences between the headlines. The difference between the Indonesian and English version shown in the English version of the headline. The English version has the word COVID-19 and approves, which is mentioned as Corona and berikan izin in the Indonesian version. This makes the headline in English looks more formal and explicit than the Indonesian version.
And the next is the ninth headline. So the both of the headline, the English and the Indonesian version, are categorized as informative and conscious headline, which explain the main idea of COVID-19's information. It is also categorized as quotes said by the governor, who is the speakers of the statement. So this headline seems to explain the fact situation that already happened at the time, which means there is no trace or reference in the headline. And the next is the differences in comparison between the two versions. Although the translation headline is directly translated from the original version, they also has differences. In the Indonesian version, its use of lexical words which apply in the statement, such as noun in the words gubernur and 106 perawat and COVID-19, and there's no function word found in the headline. Meanwhile, in the English version, it applies with a combination of lexical words and the function words. The use of lexical words is shown by the noun in the word governor, 106 nurses, and the COVID-19. And it also has auxiliary verb, which classify as a function word in the word has lost. The word has lost there, categorized as euphemisms. It means that the writer avoid being overly blunt and remain in a tone of politeness, which prefer to use lost rather to use the dead word. Thank you.
The second headline is positif COVID-19 RI bertambah 5.633 pasien per 10 Maret, which translated into Indonesia adds 5,633 COVID-19 cases in a single day. Both of these headlines, the English and the Bahasa Indonesia version, are concise and informative at the same time. These headlines are not considered as a witty headline, as there isn't any catchy appendage or wordplay to it. It is brief and definitely to the point. The reader will be able to tell that the news is about an increase in COVID-19 cases in Indonesia based on the headlines alone, without having to read the rest of the news. The reader will also be informed about the increased case number, as it is already presented in the headline. And since the news seems like a breaking news, which is constantly updating about the COVID-19 situation in Indonesia, it means that these news are part of hard news that refers to the up-to-date news about serious or hard-hitting situations that are timely and urgent, which are usually based on facts. For the wordings, both of these headlines minimize the use of function words, as the content words are more used than the function words. And moving on to the translation, the translated version of the news is translated quite the same as the original version. There isn't any big change in terms of the words. The words are also directly translated, as is there isn't any change of word classes, as the verbs still remain as an active verb. There is only a minor difference between these two, which lies in the structure of the news. In the source language news, the subject is the patients of COVID-19 in Indonesia, while the translated news use Indonesia as a whole as the subject. Besides that, there are two omitted words in the source language news, positive and patient, which is being simplified and become one part of the word cases. The phrase per 10 Maret is substituted as in a single day, which actually makes the headline way more direct, because in a single day means that the increase in cases only happen in this one exact day. But if we use preposition per and followed by the dates, it means that the increased number is the total accumulation case from the very beginning of COVID-19 pandemic to that day.
Okay, for the conclusion, the overall headlines of COVID-19 news on antaranews.com in the March edition are mainly the kind of concise and informative headlines. There are no attractive nor witty headlines found in the sample of 10 news above. According to the overall samples, there are only 5 headlines that consist of the headline techniques, which are assonance, slang, and euphemism. It might be because the news regarding COVID-19 is a kind of serious issue. Thus, it is better to use common words in the headlines rather than create attractive words that might misunderstand the readers. Okay, that's all from our group. If there is any question, you can ask us in the forum. And thank you.